Hello, Junior. Junior here. What you see in front of you here is the Cold Steel Talwar. If you couldn't figure out by yourself and get over the fact that Cold Steel puts massive lettering on these knives here. If you can get over that, you can get over anything pretty much. You gotta love Cold Steel. So I figured I'd do a review on this here knife, considering I haven't done one in the past. And also, a dear friend of mine who I gave this here knife to is leaving, he's moving, and he's downsizing significantly, down to a pack essentially. And he's getting rid of all his possessions and traveling overseas. So this here was a gift for him about 5 or 7 years ago. And he decided to give it back to me, and I said, well, okay, well, if you're getting rid of everything and giving everything back, I said, okay, fine with me. Other than the fact that he went ahead and took the thumb stud off, which he couldn't find, and he went ahead and grinded down or sanded down the blade here and the G10 slightly, because he said it was hitting him in his pocket area on his leg. He wasn't a knife guy, and you can tell when a fellow isn't a knife guy when they go ahead and they damage a good knife. It's one thing when you go ahead and you modify a blade to make it better, improve the functionality or the aesthetics of the knife, but when you go ahead and you do that, it makes it harder. Obviously, if you wanted to go ahead and resell it or trade it, and I always have that kind of mindset with many things, with most things that I end up buying, because I may like it today, but I might not like it tomorrow. And I like to keep things in close to the original stock, but I do modify pretty much half the things I own. I've modified in some way or another. But in my mind, they're usually modified for the positive. So I said, okay, I don't have a whole lot of time. I would go ahead and make go ahead and put some TLC into this. I mean, it can be corrected, could modify, it could be a great user and a good EDC knife. But I just don't have the time to go into a restoration project and to soften these edges down here that he went ahead and destroyed this here knife. I think it was about maybe 100 or so, 110 at the time maybe. And from what I understand, Cold Steel has discontinued this here knife, and you can't find it anywhere except for maybe on the secondary market, which I think the prices have really shot up there. I'm not sure, maybe someone down below can let me know. Was this like a limited run? When did the Talwar stop being made? And I'm not sure how long it was made for, but it seems to be a popular model, and if Cold Steel's listening, it might behoove them perhaps to go ahead and start production on the Talwar again, with some perhaps modifications and upgrades. The reason I actually had the same model, this is the 4-inch Talwar with the gray G10 handles, CTS XHP steel, blade steel there, which is an upgrade from their they were using OS 8 Cold Steel pretty much throughout their entire lineup, and they've started to come out with more superior steels, modern steels, as the metallurgical world has changed and upgraded and played around with a lot of their ingredients in the steel manufacturing. So it's nice to see, and I'm not a big fan on Cold Steel. I only own, I guess I own this one here now, so I only own another Cold Steel, the 4 Max actually. But it's nice to see that Andrew Demko is getting more involved in the Cold Steel lineup, considering, they have a reputation, Cold Steel, of being more on the, would you say, more, the fringes of, tactical, and more gimmicky items that, yes, they're highly functional, and the triad lock is far and away probably the most superior knife locking mechanism on the market. And I think the Cold Steel Max, that thing's a beast. That can hold I think up to 800 or 900 pounds before failure. So the tri-lock is tested and chewed, so that thing ain't going anywhere. And this solid overall design. I mean, I'm not a big fan on the Persian knife blade design overall, but I think this is a nice hybrid design. Essentially, you got a pistol grip here on the G10, a slight upsweep on the blade itself, but it's actually more straight here. It's more of a downward curve here that gives it that optical illusion that it's going up, but it's actually more straight here. So it's actually not too bad in terms of aesthetics. It's actually a nice looking blade, other than the fact that Cold Steel insists on doing massive texts. And they like to name their blades, and they like to know that the world knows that they name their knives. Yeah. That's a pet peeve. That huge steel. I mean, this is more in line with what you see across the industry. But if it were more down that way, you know, written across the handle here, which would be better, off the blade itself. So this the blade is the 4-inch model, but actually the cutting surface here is more 3 7/8. The blade width is actually 1 1/8, so it's a nice cutting edge here. Usually on more of the Persian blades, you see more of a narrow profile there. So it's a nice profile. One bugaboo with this here knife and blade, as one of the reasons why I got rid of this here model, is because it doesn't have liners on the handle itself. It's just a personal preference for me that it does. You know, it just, to me, in my mind, it cheapens the knife. It's more of an oversight in production, if you will. They just put the G10 right up against the blade. I like having that piece of steel or titanium in there. Better on both sides than not. But Cold Steel probably has done it the best in terms of there's no deflection on these G10 handles here. So these are pretty much structural. And I've seen blades with just, you know, the FRN or the G10 just deflecting like crazy here. That's horrible. So you can see I'm putting a lot of pressure on there, and there's no deflection there on those G10 handles there. So they're a thick blade slabs here. So these are over 1/8 of an inch in thickness, both of them. So that whatever thickness, that little bit of extra millimeter, that really made a difference structurally, and it helps. Because in order, I mean, if you're going to put the triad lock on a knife, which, you know, its capability locking wise is highly more than the structural failure of these here slabs, it just seems, to me, it just seems cheap to just go ahead and do that. But hey, that's me. I mean, it does lighten the overall weight of it considerably. Actually, I couldn't find the weight online. Let me see here. Curious to see myself what the weight on the Talwar is. So 4.75. So add in a couple more grams for the thumb stud there, and a little bit of G10 that my friend there grind down. So it's a nice, considering its overall length, which is, that's a 9-incher. That's a 9-incher right there, boys. That's a pretty lengthy knife there. And for comparison purposes, here we have the Hindra XM18. This is 3.5 variant. So what you're looking at is close to yeah, 3/4 of an inch shorter overall length, and it's slimmer there in profile as well. versus the Talwar. So I mean, obviously I carry this one here on a regular basis. So it's a larger knife. It just seems a little chintzy there to me in the handle, and it's off balance. You can feel it when you have it in your hand. The lightness on the handle side and this hefty, huge amount of weight on the front end. I like a knife that's more balanced overall in weight. I mean, the ergos on this here knife are fantastic. You can't go wrong with a pistol grip. It conforms perfectly to the human hand there. And the thumb stud, or the thumb ramp, both on the handle itself and on the blade, are quite nice. They work. And obviously no finger choil. You know, I always have. Most of my knives today that I carry have that choil, because I do like the option of going forward on the knife, choking up forward or back, or even going back. So more options the better. So you really only have that one option there with the pistol grip handle. Not a whole lot of jimping here on the ramp here, on the thumb ramp, on the handle. There obviously was no jimping on the blade. They have the thumb stud there, which is flat on top, and then your little torque screw there on the top there, which goes into the blade itself. I'm sure I could probably get a secondary market upgrade, or perhaps reach out to Cold Steel to get one, but I think I'm going to go ahead and sell this here knife, put it on eBay perhaps, see what I can get for it. Seems like the prices went crazy on the Talwar, considering that they discontinued it, and that's always interesting to see when a knife maker discontinues a popular model. The prices can somehow just absolutely go crazy there on the secondary market. But overall, it's not a bad knife. If Cold Steel does revisit this here blade, I would suggest to them they shorten the overall blade itself on the smaller model. This is the 4-inch model. I know they made a larger model, and I know there's fellas out there that like massive pocket swords. I'm not one of those guys. I don't carry a massive pocket sword with me. I think you can get done with less is more. That's my philosophy. A whole lot of blade like that can be detrimental in cutting tasks. So many tasks that we do today anyway, gentlemen, don't really require a whole lot of blade length. They're just, you know, they're cool. They are. I mean, to have in the collection perhaps, but I don't carry such a large knife. Let me get some coffee here. Oh yeah, black coffee. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and sell this here Talwar. Tell me, gentlemen, do you have one? Have you ever had one? I'm not sure if Cold Steel decides to make another one or not, but like I was saying, I would go ahead and shorten the overall length on this from 9 inches to more of a Hinderer size. So I guess a 9, so down to an 8 or 8.5 inch overall size there. I would put liners on the handle itself, trying to balance the overall blade, the overall knife itself, so it feels more balanced. It doesn't seem so chintzy back on the back end here. I appreciate the fact that they put in massive thickness on the slabs of these G10 slabs, but it just could be me. I'm crazy in certain ways. I just like to see that steel in there. It doesn't provide any assurances to me on the handle here. I know it's Cold Steel, I know it's a triad lock, but you know, when you go from liner locks to frame locks to lockbacks, you kind of forget sometimes. Yeah, this is here as a Cold Steel. It's not really going anywhere, but I like to see that liner there. Some more balance there on the overall knife. I do reversible pocket clip. That's great. The steel is fantastic. Didn't even talk about the steel. The XHP is a fantastic steel. Holds its edge very well. Corrosion resistance also very good. Have not had any issues there with corrosion. So overall, yeah, it's great. Other than that, yeah, if they shortened it, liner lock, more balance in the overall weight itself. I know it may add a little bit of weight to it, but it's such a large knife anyway, you kind of expect it to be on the larger weight and more of a heavier knife. But aesthetically, it's intriguing. It's an intriguing knife. It may scare sheeple away, but it's not black, so it's gray. People have this issue with black, so it lightens it up. So overall, yeah, I think I'm going to sell it. If I decide to sell it, maybe I'll put a link at the bottom if you want this here, this blade. If you feel like putting some TLC into the knife itself, just really needs some work there, sharpen and hone her, clean this up in here, clean the blade up. There's a couple scratches up here, but overall, I mean, the lockup is fantastic. Good centering here on the blade. So yeah, overall, good knife. So if you respect your tools, they respect you. And obviously, my friend, I gave him a heart. I gave him an earful, if you will. He's not a knife guy. Oh well. I know you are, though. Thanks for watching, Junior. Thank you for watching, Junior. Before you go, please like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and you'll be a real winner in my book. And you know what they say about winners? Winners go home and